Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi, folks. Welcome back. And those of you that are new, welcome. The debt ceiling deadline is approaching. And here are the four people that run the largest economy in the world. We have Joe Biden, who can't string a sentence together. We have Kamala Harris, that thinks a manila folder is a Filipino contortionist. We have Chuck Schumer. He's my senator. The guy, I can't put what I want to say on this website. And then we have Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, who I didn't trust before. I don't trust him fully now, but I do have to say so far, he's kept his word. Now, I wish he would push harder for subpoenas and people that are refusing subpoenas to appear before the congressional committees to put under arrest and made to physically appear. You think he has the balls for it? We'll see. So we'll start off with the four amigos, and let's continue on with the story. Kind of a tongue-in-cheek name of the story from Fox News. The Hitchhiker's Guide to Crunch Week on the Debt Ceiling. Insteaders are saying anything south of 180 votes would mean a Republican files a motion for McCarthy to vacate the chair. Now, that's the deal that he made. That any one individual from the House on the Republican side can stand up at any day, at any time, and ask for McCarthy to be removed from the chair and vote in a new speaker. Now, even if the votes fail, how would you like to have your own party, every single day you're in session, stand up and have a vote of no confidence over and over and over again for the next year and a half plus? Nobody wants that. Let's read on. It's hard to understand just how close the U.S. is hitting the debt ceiling. There are talks again, but no agreement. Yeah, it's like, what's the adults in Charlie Brown? Wah, 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 wah. No bill, nothing close, as Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who is another massive piece of work, reiterated at NBC that the hard deadline is June 1st. Yellen added that the government should struggle to pay its bills beyond June 15th if Congress doesn't take action. Well, if the hard deadline is June 1st, looks like we have until June 15th. These are highly educated people that are talking here. So how do the sides sidestep an epic collision with a debt ceiling? Dun, dun, dun. Republicans don't blink. Do not blink. Compromise is not blinking. What's set in stone is this, Democrats. Pay attention. I'll talk slowly if it's necessary. You cannot spend more money than you spent last fiscal year. Period. The rest is negotiable. You can work on it. Individual bills, individual programs, and there's thousands of them. You cannot spend more money than you spent last year. Let me try it one more time, and I'll say it slower. You cannot spend more money than you did last year. That's something they should not flinch from. At least one Republican lawmaker with whom Fox spoke suggested that the government were rushing on cruise control toward the debt limit. Cruise control being that nobody's holding the steering wheel, I guess is the analogy, and the car's just driving itself to doom. And Congress was past the point of no return of a crisis. Oh, look at these two geniuses. Remember, you heard this here first. Hakeem Jeffries, you see there on the right, minority leader in the House of Representatives. He will be the front runner for the presidential election in 2024 for the Democrats. Remember, you heard it here first. There is much to do and little time to do it. If the date is June 1st, said the lawmaker who asked not to be identified. No way. How President Biden and House Speaker McCarthy bridged this chasm is unclear. Observers note negotiations this intense should have been underway at least in April. Yeah, they would have been. They would have been. But you can't negotiate with yourself. The President of the United States refused to even return calls in a lot of cases from staff between the House and the Oval. Basically said nothing and did nothing but bitch and complain. Now they want to negotiate when the fire is slowly reaching their house. It's possible there could be more, but that's not why. That might be enough time to wrap this up. To wit, let's just say there is a deal by Tuesday. It really takes until Thursday to get the legislation text into form. McCarthy insists he adhere to the House's 72-hour rule that allows members to study and consider the bill. It also means the House might not be even debate and vote on the bill until the coming weekend. I have no problem with the 72-hour rule. Read the bill before you vote on it. What a concept. I was a city council member in upstate New York for many years. And if there was a controversial or an important individual bill, we all read it thoroughly and all the intake and notes from the city attorney, whose opinion that we wanted to find out about as far as legality goes on a piece of legislation. I've written and gotten past a lot of pieces of legislation. Granted, it's not the thousands of page budget bill or anything like a federal level, but the concepts are the same. Therefore, the Senate might not even get the legislation until Monday the 29th. Oh, it's going to cut it on their Memorial Day weekend. Oh, well, I guess won't be able to roast any weenies. Even if the Senate is really humming, when did that ever happen? I can say something, but I won't. That would take until Wednesday, May 31st, to wrap things up. But more likely, June 1st or 2nd. And remember, this is the timeline if everything goes swimmingly. I usually don't talk about personal things on my channel here, but I will have to say this coming June 1st will be 31 years sober for me. I quit on June 1st, 1992, and I'm kind of proud of that. I don't talk about my personal life much here on the channel, but I throw that in just for the heck of it. What if we're left out of this analysis are the potential contours of a deal? To say nothing of what makes it takes to get the votes to pass such a package. Here we go. It's about the math. Well, it always is. It's always about the number of votes. Mixing the cocktail of Republican and Democratic votes to pass a still theoretical bill through the House and the Senate, we'll get to that at some point, involves very precise yet mysterious policy alchemy. House Republicans have long talked about wanting a majority of the majority to be in favor of any prospective package. That concept goes back decades with the Republicans, but this is 2023. Thus, McCarthy endured the longest speaker's race since 1859 to get the job. Now, those of you that say it's deadlock is harmful for the country. Deadlock does horrible things. Wrong. The founders even said, and rightfully so, that deadlock is put in the system by design. Now, I'm paraphrasing now because I can't speak as eloquently as the founders. You would rather have nothing happen than go too far one way wrong. It's always easier to wait, even if it's past the time where it's even smart to wait, to compromise on something rather than let it go straight to hell. Takes 10 times longer to fix. And the founders knew that. So it was put in by design. How does McCarthy agree to any pact which doesn't have close to 200 or 223 Republicans in the House in favor of it? All McCarthy has to do is this. Democrats, here's a list of your top 50 pet programs, which shouldn't be hard for them. All they want to do is spend money. Take the top 50. Out of those top 50, you've got to take away X amount of dollars. You can have what you want for your programs, but you can't spend more than we did last year. Take out some more of your controversial ones, but here's the problem. Right now, the progressive base, who's really, really the president that's running the Oval Office in the White House, for all intents and purposes, is so far left, they're too immature to understand that you have to negotiate. They're like a 5-year-old that wants candy in the checkout line at the grocery store, and that's all they know is, I want it now. You can't deal with those people like that. They're not mature enough. It's likely that anywhere from 20 to 40 House Republicans are hard-nosed on any bill, which doesn't replicate the debt ceiling bill muscled through last month. Kevin McCarthy put up a lot of political capital to get the number of votes that he did. And many of them, 20, 30, 40, Republicans really bent their principles. Maybe not bent them, but just turned them just a little to go along, to get along. And they compromise as much as they're going to compromise. The deal is this. I'll say it again. You cannot spend more money than you did last year if you expect the bill to pass. Fox is told McCarthy's floor is 180 GOP yeas. One knowledgeable source told Fox that anything south of 180 would mean a conservative Republican files a motion to vacate the chair and force a vote for Speaker in the middle of Congress. If this is what the Democrats want, Kevin McCarthy is the moderate Republican that was the compromise. They got lucky to get Kevin McCarthy. I'm telling you that if he's replaced, the Democrats, you're going to be screaming and hollering and crying when you get a real hard-nosed Republican. It's in your best interest to keep Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, believe me. This has always been a concern for the Speaker. How can he accept a deal which may put his own political career in jeopardy? It's not the career. It's the country. Or is there a way to finesse this so everybody believes they've secured a win? Yeah, McCarthy, you go to the Schumer and say, hey, don't go to Biden because he's brain dead, almost literally. Go to Schumer and say, hey, talk to Hakeem Jeffries. Agree not to spend any more than you did last year. That way you avoid a House vote on my seat because you will get a hard-ass, super right-wing fiscal conservative instead of me. If that's what you want, leading into the midterms next year, I'll be more than happy to oblige you. How many Democrats can House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries provider afford to lose? If the Democrats are a huge swath, we'll say 20, 30, Hakeem Jeffries tells them, listen, you will vote yes, I made a deal with McCarthy, they'll do it. Where this conversation is not about Jeffries, it's about President Biden. And that's where it falls off the cliff. The president faces liberal members demanding they use the 14th Amendment, which says that federal public debts cannot be in question, and conclude the argument. Progressives are leery of President Biden giving up too much, especially on domestic spending and work requirements for those receiving welfare benefits. Those work requirements are for single, able-bodied adults without disabilities, nothing physically or mentally wrong with them, that have no dependents, i.e. no children. There are work requirements for somebody that's single with no children or married with no children. That's more than reasonable. That's how unreasonable they are. Who executives be willing to walk the plank to get this done or hold true to their principles? Well, Democrats in very close, we'll call them purple districts for lack of a better term, they only won by 1 or 2% because of all the mail-in votes last midterm elections. Yeah. Here's another challenge for McCarthy. The House debt ceiling could pose a problem in negotiations. President Biden withheld from negotiations until the House approved its bill, albeit one which secured zero Democratic votes and had no chance of overcoming a filibuster in the Democratically controlled Senate. I know this episode is running a little long, but I think this is important. However, there's something worth noting about House GOP's debt ceiling bill. Passage of that measure was McCarthy's greatest accomplishment since clasping the Speaker's gavel. He had little to stand on these negotiations had the House not approved the Republican package. But passage of that measure could also box him in. Fox is told more and more House Republicans refuse to budge from that bill. Yes, because many of them compromised to vote yes for the bill at McCarthy's urging. They already compromised already as far as they're concerned. They will not compromise anymore. McCarthy pushed so hard to get lawmakers to agree to that package that many are reluctant to accept anything short of that measure. Yes, because they already compromised. Now it's up to the Democrats and the president. Moreover, McCarthy isn't former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi often designed legislation to score the necessary matrix of votes. One senior House Republican told Fox last week that McCarthy is more of a big picture and hands-off. He wants the memberships to keep consensus first. He defers to them, which you're supposed to do. So no good deed goes unpunished. That may work internally, but the debt ceiling accord must be something which President Biden, at least some Democrats, can accept. Otherwise, it's a debate among Republicans. The debate among Republicans is over. They compromise. You cannot spend more money than you did last year. So we're going to see what happens. And I'll breeze through the article here if you want to read it all. It's interesting. I think it's fairly well written. Do Republicans keep the House in session, or do they cut everyone loose until there's something to vote on? Congressional leaders could apply the Stockholm Syndrome tactics to convince members to vote yes. In other words, hold everybody captive in Washington until they come around and vote yes. In other words, keep everybody at work until you get your work done. What a concept. But that could mean torching part of the House's recess, to say nothing of various Memorial Day activities lawmakers love to attend back home. Oh, yeah, well, the Democrats go around with flags and cemeteries and pretend like they give a damn. It is generally thought keeping everyone in D.C. would help leaders. It makes it easier to count and track where the votes lie. No remote voting. However, Fox is told that holding everybody in Washington could stir dissent if some Republicans don't like the plan McCarthy ultimately cobbles together with Mr. Biden. And we'll end the article with this. It's unclear which path the sides may take. But what if there's nothing to vote on? This spells trouble as the country hurdles towards the June 1st debt ceiling deadline. I don't know exactly what would happen. Supposedly, the Treasury Secretary says they'll have trouble paying their bills by June 15th. We'll have to see. But I have to say, this is a very, very high-level game of chicken. I think the Democrats will compromise first. They'll break first. Why? Because the entire month of April and 2 months prior to that, after a month passed, when the Republicans' bill went through, you got crickets. I'll even do the crickets just to make it more realistic. You got crickets from the Oval Office, which means Biden wasn't told yet what to do. And it took him a whole month to figure out what to tell Biden. That's just my opinion, and I believe that's what happened. Now the deadline approaches when they should have been negotiating for the last 30 days. So we'll have to see. Please, Republicans, don't flinch. Don't flinch first. This isn't about this year's budget or debt ceiling. This is about the future of the country for the next generation or 2 generations. This is important. Remember your oath and uphold it. Until next time, goodbye and good luck.